Welcome back to Arcade. I am Super Tommy, and this is part two of creating a breakout game in Phaser 3 with matterjs. Now, in the last part, we ended by creating this ball, and it'll bounce around. We made some bounds, wall bound for this matterjs world, and here's the ball bouncing around. We set inertia to infinity so that the ball doesn't slow down. We set air friction to 0, and we set a bounce so that it bounces around. Now, before we make the paddle in this video, we're actually also going to make a change here to set friction to be effectively 0 for friction when it hits things and friction for air by calling the set friction method here. This actually should make it so that it doesn't lose any speed at all when it goes around, because before you lost speed very slowly, which looks almost like no speed is lost, but this is better. So now let's go and make the paddle. Let's just start easy here. So this dot matter dot add dot image. So we're using image instead of sprites because none of our particular assets have any. They're just going to be static. They don't. There's nothing to draw about to like change how they look. Um, uh, yeah. Animate. They don't have any animation, so we're going to use an image and not a sprite. Okay, so this paddle. So the paddle, let's just create some widths and heights here. So let's use this object destructuring. We're going to get the width and height out of the scale manager. That. So now width is a number, height is a number. So if you're unfamiliar with object destructuring, this is a TypeScript and modern JavaScript feature. This is equivalent to doing this dot width equals this dot scale dot width, this dot height equals this dot scale dot height. So these are the same, right? So line 12 here is the same as both lines 14 and 15 here. It's just basically a shortcut. And you can destructure anything else out of scale. So, like auto round, base size, dirty, full screen, anything easier besides the methods, I don't think. I've never actually tried that. But nonetheless, we're going to take width and height out here, and we are going to put our paddle. So the X, we're just going to say, started in the middle of the screen. And then the Y, let's just say we're going to put it at 90% of the way down. And now we need paddle. So we did not load anything yet. So let's go to our preloader. And here we have our ball being loaded. So now let's do the same for the paddle. And so we called it paddle.png. So assets paddle.png. Save that. Let's go back to game. And here we want paddle. So now we should create, the paddle should show up here. And it does. Boom. The ball is just destroying this paddle. So now the paddle shouldn't really move. We're going to move it ourselves with the arrow keys, but that looks pretty cool nonetheless. So we want this to be static. So options is, let's see, make sure I get this right, image, XY keystring frame. So we have no frame. We can leave that undefined. And now the config. Okay. So if you want IntelliSense, when you're in VS Code and you have this object, you want to know what the keys are, you can press Control Space on the Mac at least. Try it on Windows, maybe the same. Okay, so here's the options. And so we're going to actually want ours to be static. So let's just set our paddle to be static. So now when the ball hits it, it should just not move. Boom, look at that. Great. Now, what we did not do yet, and what you see this, our paddle is actually rounded, right? So if it's just a rectangle, then it's not going to be quite accurate based on the visuals of the paddle. The ball may eventually hit it in an odd place where you'll see that can happen. But it's a rectangle, so it's going to hit it at the edge. So let's just actually turn on the debug. Just like arcade physics, matter physics also has a debug. Debug, true. So that'll draw out, so you probably can't see, but this is the blue. There's a blue. I think I can change the color of the debug. Let's see. Let's just see if we can change the color. Color, collision color, bound color. Is it like an enabled? No, maybe if there is a object here, it's going to be enabled, so we're going to use, what type is this? Number, let's just go with red. Red on black should be visible. Still blue. Color, collision color, angle color, fill color, hull color. Convex, let me just read the decks here. Color, collision color, joint color, line color, FF0000. Okay, now the ball is red, right? Because that was dynamic. So what about static? We're not doing show convex hulls, joint, pin color, position color. Is there a static color? Sleep, spring, static, line color. Let's see, FF0000. All right, so here you can see that it is a rectangle, right? So we don't really want it to be a rectangle since our shape is rounded. So let's do that real fast. This is called chamfer, if I'm saying it right. It will basically round the edges. So I'll just guess, about 15, how does that look? That's decent, I think that's pretty good. Now you can see the ball's moving way too fast. Let's just slow this ball down. Actually, just don't go in, don't move. Hold still. Now the ball is of course not a circle. The ball is itself a square, but we want it to be a circle. Now let's see, can we change that shape? No, circle, circle radius. Now if I set this, I don't know, maybe 16. If I set this, does it just make it a circle? It does. Okay, so 16 is too much. 14. Still too much. 12 is probably 24. We could have just looked at the ball and the size, and just cut the width of the ball in half, so 12. So that's better. Now let's make it stop moving so fast. So there we go. Now the ball is a circle. We've got our paddle out there. It's got a rounded corner so that it matches our shape better. So good. So now we need to actually be able to move the paddle. So we're going to use the cursor keys, the Phaser 3 cursor keys, and use the left and right arrows. So let's go up here. We're going to create a class property called cursors. It's going to be a phaser.input.types, no, .keyboard, types, no, phaser.types.input. Keyboard dot cursor keys. Okay. Now we're going to use the non-null assertion operator, that is this exclamation mark here, to tell TypeScript that we will set this, so don't worry about it being undefined or null. And we are going to set it in the init hook. So this dot cursors, this dot input dot not input dot keyboard dot create cursor keys. So here we've created the cursor keys. Now we can use it. Let's use it in update. Now the update function method gives us two values. That is total time since the game has started and the delta time since last frame. So here now we need to access paddle in here to be able to move it. So let's do the same here. Create a class property for paddle, and it'll be a phaser dot. Look at that. Dot matter. Nope. Dot physics. Hello. Dot matter. Dot image. So we can do this dot paddle. Okay. So let's see if this dot cursors dot left is down. We're going to want to move our paddle to the left. So let's see, this dot paddle dot position. Let's see, we got to get position body dot. Okay, we're going to just move the matter body. So const body this dot paddle dot body as matterjs dot body type. So now body dot position. Okay. Dot x. So let's just say when it's down, we're gonna 5 pixels a frame. That may be too fast. Let's see. Else if cursors dot right is down, this dot position. Nope, not this. Body dot position dot x, and we're gonna plus equals 5. Let's just see how this feels. If this even works. Now the body is not moving with us, right? Right. Okay, let's see. Body dot let's see, set position? No. So we changed the position, but it didn't move. It is a static body. I think we need to do some sort of update. Let's see. I think Phaser will do this for us if we do this. So this dot paddle. So instead of directly manipulating the matter body, we're just going to change X on the paddle itself. That's better. Now this paddle's moving pretty slow, but there we go. So that works as we expect. Look at that. Let's move a little bit faster. Like this. So just say speed. Let's try 10. So we move twice as fast. That's not bad. Okay, so that's the paddle moving around. So now in Breakout, the ball doesn't just start in the middle of the screen and start moving. What you get a chance to basically position your paddle with the ball on it, and then shoot it up from wherever you think is a good place to start. That means we need to basically give the ball to the paddle, and then when we move the paddle, move the ball with us. So there's 2 ways to do that, but in our case, we're going to actually make a paddle class, and that should make it easier to deal with. So let's go back to our project here. And in our source folder, let's make a new folder called game. We're going to put our game-specific files in here that are going to be used by the game scene. So we're going to make a paddle.ts. Let's just import Phaser from Phaser. And the same way of creating a class, we can collapse that. Class paddle. Now this is going to extend matter image, because that is how we're making our paddle. So constructor, now let's see, what does it want? It wants a world, an X, a Y, a texture, and then some amount of config. So let's just say we're going to do that. So now world is going to be a phaser.physics.matter.world, and then X is a number, Y is a number, texture is a string. And so we know we don't have any different frames in our particular case, and config should be undefined for the frame, and then config is matter.matterBodyConfig. Phaser.physics.matter.matter. Let's check that again. Super. Phaser.types. Phaser.types dot physics.matter body config. Okay, so now this could be, we can do this. It's optional. You don't have to pass one. We will be passing one, but you do not need to. Okay, so there's that, there's that. So Now let's import, just import this, and we'll build it up step by step here. Okay, import battle from. Now we're in the scene, out one, game, paddle. All right, so let's just build this one step at a time. So now that would work because this is a phaser, is a matter image, so the types are still correct at this point. Let's just comment that. So new paddle. Now we want to pass in a matter world. So this dot matter dot world. Now x is, we'll just copy this, right? And then the texture is the same, and then we want our same config, which is static true. You could also just copy everything we have below, radius 15. All right, so that's the same. Let's save it. It should not show up. Well, the matter body does show up, so but our sprite doesn't. That's because we have to add our sprite to the display list. Now let's see what we can do. So to know how you should do this, you can go to physics, the matter physics factory in the phaser docs, and then see when it adds. So like we're adding chain, let's go to image. When we add image, go to the actual source file, and it's over here, line 801. Now you see it adds it to the display list. Like when it creates an image, it does this stuff, which is similar to what we're doing with new paddle, where we pass in all that stuff. Then phaser adds it to the display list. Now another way we can do this is to use this add existing. So if we do add and then we do existing, you will see, go to that source, it will add it to the display list and the update list if there's a pre-update. So, but we only care about this. So what we can do, let's go here into our paddle class. So now we got a world. So let's actually take scene instead of a world. And then what we're going to do is scene.matter.world and then scene.add.existing this. Now you could have, I actually believe, now that I think about it, you can do matter.world, like we passed in the world before, you can do world.scene. So you could have done it that way too. Let's undo this. Passing in the scene is also fine, but if you wanted to, world.scene.add.existing this, right? The two ways we just did it, they're both the same. It just so happens you can reference the scene on the matter world. Okay, so now we should see the actual graphic. There it is, and everything still works. Great. All right, so now we want to basically give the ball to the paddle. So now that we have a class, it's in some ways easier to think about it. So let's just say we're going to do attach ball, right? We're going to give it a ball, which is going to be phaser.physics.matter.image. And when we give a ball to a paddle, we need to save a reference here. So this could be null. Phaser.physics.matter.image. So this ball. And then when we update the paddles, when we move the paddle around, we want the ball to move with us. And actually, let's just attach this ball to right above the paddle. So we know, so the ball and the paddle are in the same world space. So that means we want this .ball.x to be the paddle, this x, right? So that it's in the same middle here. And then this .ball.y to be this .y, which is right here in the center. And then up half of the paddle height, so minus this do I have height? Yes. So we want it to be above the height, and then also we want it to be the ball.height half. Right, so there's that, and we don't want the ball to be moving, so set velocity 0, just do 0, 0. So let's just try that real fast. Let's go to game. Here's the ball. We just this velocity set. So this dot paddle dot attach ball. And boom. Now it's on top of the paddle, but if we move the paddle, the ball stays there. What we're going to want to do is move the ball when the paddle moves. So now we have moving here in this update method, which is fine. What we're going to do is move this specific logic right here into the paddle class. Now, if you recall, when we looked at the game object factory and do add that existing, if there is a pre-update method on whatever child being added, it will add it to the update list. So what we're going to do is create a pre-update method. Oh, no, what I said is true, but we're going to have to do that. We're going to make an update method, and it's going to take cursors, which is a phaser.types.input.keyboard.cursor_keys. Okay. Now you could do this in pre-update, but we already have an update method here, and we have a reference to the paddle, so there is really no reason why we can't do it this way as well. I think it's a matter of preference, really. We're gonna, instead of having the pre-update method called automatically for us, we're just going to manually call the update method of the paddle in the update method of the scene. Okay, this is good. Now this .paddle.update, we're going to pass in the cursor keys. Now this should allow us to, right, the paddle still moves, and that hasn't changed, right? The ball doesn't move. Good. So now, let's go if this ball. So if there is a ball attached, this ball dot x equals this dot x. So now we're going to just move the ball with us. There we go. So in some breakout implementations, you see the ball sort of moves around, like it sort of rolls left to right. We're going to leave that to you. We're going to keep it simple here and just keep it in the center. And that's it for this video. In the next video, we're going to show you how to fire the ball. Now in Breakout, if you're here, it's a different angle when you fire the ball than if you were in the middle or if you were on the right side. So come back for that in part 3.